and she had AML leukemia, which is a form of blood cancer. Very intense, relentless type of cancer. Right away, she needed treatment that she had apheresing, which is like dialysis, where they remove the blood, cleanse the blood, put back the blood, and also then we were in the hospital 44 days initially, so that first time in, and obviously your life is turned upside down. You don't really know what to think, what to expect. Doctors and nurses and all the information that you're given right away, a lot of it you don't really comprehend because you're still in that shock and denial of what they just told you. And in Olivia's case, she responded really well to treatment, and which was awesome. She was down to her last treatment, which would have been September 04, and then they found out that she relapsed, so that cancer was back. And that meant more treatment, more hospitalization, more stays. And then Libby was cancer-free again until that next summer, July of 2005. And that's when they said that we think Libby needs a bone marrow transplant. And what that means is they have to prepare the patient with lots and lots of intense chemo, radiation, and basically they break your immune system down to nothing, so you have nothing left. It's a very scary time. Any germ, any infection could potentially take that person's life. So moving forward, Olivia had her bone marrow transplant. She did remarkably well, and then life was good. She had a surgery in April of 2005, which had to do with her heart, something that they had found along the way, because that is something that they watch closely when you have chemo, is the heart and all major organs. And then life was getting to be pretty normal. She actually missed kindergarten and first grade both. So she started school at the very end of first grade. She went to second, third grade, and fourth grade. And it would have been January of 2009. She kept complaining that her finger and thumb were numb on her right hand. And, we didn't think much about it, thinking maybe she just cracked a bone or, something. And the last thing from our minds was that cancer was back. And long story short with this, we ended up in the ER, and we were up the whole entire night. They ended up doing an MRI finally at 4 in the morning, and they thought it was an abscess, which at that point, we were actually kind of celebrating, like, wow, it's an abscess. We'll have this thing out and we'll be home, tomorrow. So, that wasn't the case, though. It was cancer again, and it's called a scleroma. And if that hadn't been where it was, and her fingers and thumb were numb, it could have been anywhere, and we might not have found it. So fortunately, that's how it happened as far as that. And what they ended up doing was she had radiation directly on that site, which she responded to well, and she was a real trooper. And did the radiation. It was every day for 32 days straight, and not a lot of fun. But again, Libby has always had a measurable spirit and always gotten me through. So as we moved on, then things seemed pretty good. Then it would have been the fall of 2009, and she was in 5th grade. And they were doing an art project, ironically enough, and they were supposed to study their faces. And as they're doing that, they're pulling down their eyelids and looking at the different parts of your face. And she discovers this blister in her eye, and it looked like a red blister. And so we looked at it and went to the optometrist, and he didn't really know what to think about it. And again, we didn't think, wow, that's cancer. So then we went back to the university, which is our home away from home, and the pediatrician, the physician's assistant said, I don't like the looks of that. And Olivia went in and they did surgery, and here it was a sarcoma, which is another form of cancer. So that being said, they said she needs stem cell transplant. So again, very intense treatment, very intense everything. It was a very difficult time. Even though Libby had already had bone marrow transplant in '05, I had never seen her as sick as she was that fall then in 2009. She had H1N1, she had chemotherapy, and she also had pneumonia. And so she was a pretty sick little girl. It was that time, if you recall, when they were limiting visitors and people out and about, and the H1N1 kind of put the kibosh to everything. And it was kind of a depressing time, and I was really worried about, Libby keeping her spirits up and getting through this. But I knew we could, and I knew because Libby had that attitude, and because she knew that there were people like you